my brother. If I'm leaning at all, I'm leaning with sadness that everyone's heart isn't filled with the gladness of love. For one another. It's a long, long road from which there is no return. While we're on the way to there, why not share? In the road doesn't weigh me down at all. He ain't heavy, he's my brother. He's my brother. He ain't heavy. He's my
Hey everybody, it's Doc and welcome back to another edition of Doc's Boneyard. Hey listen, this song I chose to start this episode with is He Ain't Heavy, He's My Brother by the Hollies. And before we even get started, let me just throw this out there. This episode pertains to both men and women veterans. It just so happens that that's a cool tune, and the title of this episode is He's Not Heavy, He's My Brother. And it doesn't matter if you're a brother from another mother or a sister from another mister. We're all the same. So this week's episode is a special interview with a veteran named Dan. And Wounded Warrior was kind enough to connect me with Dan. And Dan's going to tell you his story. And more importantly, we're going to get the word out about Wounded Warrior Project. What it is, what they do, and how they help our nation's veterans, including myself. Now, Dan couldn't be in the Whiskey 901 studios in person, but we shared this over video link. First of all, I want to thank you for taking your time out and shooting the bull with me, man, chatting it up, so to speak.
Not a problem, man. It's my pleasure.
All right. So, first things first, man, how did you hear about Wounded Warrior? How did you get involved, and what is Wounded Warrior for those who don't know?
Absolutely. I actually got approached by a buddy of mine that I served one of my tours in Iraq with, and I'm from Chicago, so is he. And one of the real big things in Chicago in the summertime is the Air and Water Show. It's like a huge deal, right? And I'm a plane nut. I love them. I'm such a plane nut. That's why I joined the Marine Corps. Of course. But he offered, he says, hey, man, have you ever heard of Wounded Warrior Project? And I'd heard of them, but I really didn't think that, it had anything to do with me. I thought, which I think a lot of people think that Wounded Warrior Project is just for people that are like really severely wounded.
Right.
And so, I was like, yeah, I heard of him, but, what about it? He says, well, I'm going to an event, the Air and Water Show, and I can bring somebody with me. Would you like to go? And, I was like, yeah, absolutely. And he was telling me about, we'd be down on the beach right there, and we'd be able to see the Navy SEALs come in, landing, because they parachute in every year. And I could meet other veterans and maybe talk to some of the people that work in the office in the Chicago office. So I was kind of hesitant, but since I was going with him, I figured why not? I'd give it a shot. And that started my journey, man. I went there and I realized I wasn't alone with my thoughts or what I was going through. I met some really cool people, some really nice people, both people that worked in the office that weren't veterans, but had decided to dedicate their lives to helping veterans. And I met some other people that were veterans that had kind of gone through some of the things I'd gone through. And I opened up about some stuff a little bit with them, like that first day. So I was interested, real interested. And then I found out I could join Wounded Warrior Project, and it doesn't cost a dime. There's no cost to it to become what is called an alumni. And so I went ahead and I got my DD 214 and everything, and I joined up, and I started to go. I was still married at the time, and so I started to go to events and bring my wife and actually my kids. I have a son and a daughter. I started doing stuff with them, which really, it was actually really helping me, deal with some stuff. Just kind of starting that journey. And, that's what Wounded Warrior Project's about, is just helping other veterans, helping warriors. Our mission is to honor and empower our nation's wounded warriors, and they take that very seriously. And so I've been a part of Wounded Warrior Project since about 2013 or so. And after I retired from the Marine Corps in 2015, and the police department in 2015, because I was a Marine for 30 years, active in reserve, with 3 combat tours in Iraq, and I was a police officer for 24 years. And so when I retired from everything in 2015, my world had pretty much fallen apart by then, and I had already decided that I'd gone through a suicide ideation, and I almost actually did it, and if it hadn't been for Wounded Warrior Project, I probably would have done it. And so, like, when I speak, I talk and I say, Wounded Warrior Project saved my life, and I mean that. It was weird. It was weird, man. I got a brochure from that day at the Air and Water Show, and there's a picture in there of a guy that, for his privacy, I won't mention his name, but
Right.
he had everything blown off from the waist down in Afghanistan, right? And I believe it was Afghanistan, yeah. And there was a picture of him working out from a wheelchair in a gym, And I remember when I was going through these moments where I was done, right? I was tired of being a Marine, and I'd lost a lot of friends in Iraq, and tired of being a cop because I was tired of dealing with everybody's, crap. Tired of everything. My wife had served me with divorce papers, so I'm not a very good husband, and she's going to take my kids away. I'm going to lose my house. The world is crashing down. All I got to do is pull this trigger, and all the pain will go away. And I started thinking about that picture, and it just so happened, I'm a neat freak, man. 30 years in the Corps, and everything's got a place. There's a place for everything. But I happened to have that brochure in my car, and I stopped what I was doing and looked at that picture again. And for the first time in my life, I raised my hand, figuratively, and I asked for help. And Wounded Warrior Project was right there. I went in. I think it was like a couple days later, and I was like, I need help. I'm falling apart here. And they were like, hey, okay, we got you. Let's get you involved in this. You know, what do you got going on with the VA? Everything was a mess with the VA because I was just, you know, I wasn't going to my appointments. I didn't want to deal with it. They got me squared away with that. And I mean, it kind of took off from there, you know, and that was it. I mean, I've been part of the Wounded Warrior Project since then, and I'm going to keep going till the wheels fall off. So, but yeah, I mean, like I said, our mission is to honor and empower our nation's wounded warriors, and they do it, you know, through contacting, connecting, and empowering veterans. You know, getting out there and reaching out to guys and girls that need the help, connecting them with the services that they need, whether it's physical health and wellness. We get a lot of stuff with our VSOs because all our VSOs are like National Veteran Service Officers, and you get a lot of guys, including me. You know, you try and go through the VA, and nothing against the VA, you know, but you try and deal with some of the paperwork and you get lost. And the VSOs are there to help you with that. I know a lot of guys, we have a Warriors to Work program. That's the crazy thing about the military. You know, you get in there, they teach you how to turn it on, they teach you how to do stuff, but they don't teach you how to turn it off. And when you get out in the civilian world, you're lost. You know, you don't, a resume? How do you do a resume? What do I put in the resume? You know, how do I go to a job interview? What do I wear? What do I say? You know, yes, ma'am, yes, sir, no, sir. Some people don't like that, right?
Right.
You know, in a resume, I can execute orders well. There's a lot of people out there, they read that resume, you know, and they don't like to hear the word execute written in the resume. That's kind of the wrong buzzword, I guess. So they help you through Warriors to Work. Our Warriors to Work program have helped a lot of guys and girls get jobs. And physical health and wellness, you know, how to eat, I've taken advantage of it. Since I got divorced, I live by myself, man. If my microwave breaks, I'm done, right?
Hey, you're a star.
Yeah, that's it. I'm over with. I mean, I should probably own stock in DoorDash, but they've helped me to fend for myself when it comes to certain things. And to eat better, to be physically fit, you know, that's physical health and wellness. And some of their programs that you go out on, like Project Odyssey, I went on one. It's a 4-day thing, you know, they have for males, for females, and for couples. I went out there and I was nervous, but I got to meet great veterans and got to kind of sit back and just take a break from the world for a minute and reflect about things. And it gave me a new perspective on life. And, you know, it helped me kind of find that path to self-healing. I mean, I'm still doing it. I'm still working hard on my own self, but that Project Odyssey really helped me to do that. I still talk to guys that I went on that trip with that are going to be lifelong friends, and I know that if I'm having a bad day, you know, I suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder. I ended up with a pretty good traumatic brain injury from getting hurt in Iraq and all that, and so I have my good days and my bad days, but I know that I can always pick up a phone and call those guys. I'm getting ready to do the Warrior Care Network, you know, which I know you're familiar with it. I've made that decision that I need another kind of a recharge.
Right.
I need to get out, and I need to get and because things are overwhelming again a little bit. You know, court just came up for divorce again because child support ended, so now things are changing there. My son's a Marine, and he's home right now, and I can't tell you where he's going because it's all secret squirrel stuff. But you know, I'm worried about him in today's world. You know, he's a sergeant right now. He's young. He thinks he's Jason Bourne or whatever, but I'm just worried about him. You know, and so I think I need to take that breath. And so I'm actually getting ready to talk to the person that runs that Warrior Care Network and see which hospital, because there's 4 across the country, which one might be the best program for me, and just take a time out and go and take a breath and kind of recenter myself. And I mean, that's what Wounded Warrior Project's about. They've always been there for me. I know they've always been there for a lot of other veterans. You know, I travel the country as a speaker for them, right? That's what I do.
Right.
And I'm very surprised about the fact that there are so many people out there that don't know about Wounded Warrior Project. Um, I mean, with all the commercials and all the direct mailings and all the other stuff, you would think everybody would know, but I run into a lot of people that don't. And so I'm hoping that, the word continues to get spread and that more guys and girls take advantage of it. It's free, right? I mean, what's better than free? I don't know about you, but I've never turned down free, right? I mean, and so it's just a way to heal yourself. It's somebody once told me this. It's not therapy like per se, but it's therapeutic.
Well,
So
you are your best therapist. You know what you need.
right, yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
there's medical professionals out there that are going to disagree with the academia of it, but when it all comes down, you know what you need. You know what your problems are. It's
No,
just,
you're absolutely right. Yeah.
yeah, it's just a question of reaching out and taking hold of what's out there and getting that life preserver and reeling yourself back in, so to speak.
Right, absolutely. And I was I was a hard case with that because I thought, yeah, I'm very honest about it. I retired from the Marine Corps as a sergeant major, as an E9,
Right.
right? So when I hit that rank, I'm supposed to be the problem solver for everybody else, right? Who do I turn to when I'm just totally messed up inside? I don't have anyone to talk to. I can't show weakness. Being in the Marine Corps, being in the infantry community, being in the infantry itself, you don't talk about PTSD. You're weak if you do that. And that's such a bad way to address it. You're teaching people not to address what the issue is because God forbid you show that you're weak. And so I still run into that with my own son. Oh, I'm fine. No, you're going to talk to me, man, because not everything is roses. And it's okay to have a bad day. It's okay to be human. And, with Wounded Warrior Project, they kind of help bring that out with me. And I'm not going to say I got in touch, I got in touch with my feelings and I understand who I am and I'm just a human being. I'm not a robot. I'm not a machine. I finally learned how to turn it off, I guess, in the sense of it being, trying to be Joe Hardcore all the time and taking everything on the chest is honorable, but you can only take so many hits, and then things will fall apart. And I had a therapist once tell me this, and it made the most sense. Your soul is like a bag, right? And you can only stuff so much into the bag because one or two things are going to happen. The bag's going to break apart, and everything's just going to go all over the place, or it's going to start overflowing. But either way, it's going to be a bad outcome. And my bag, after getting served with divorce papers and everything crashing down, my bag blew up. And, it came real close to me calling it a day. And I'm so glad it didn't happen because now I've watched my son grow up to be a sergeant of Marines. He's his own man, and I've watched my beautiful daughter who just graduated high school last weekend. She's 18. I never thought one of my biggest concerns would be the boys that are circling around her, but I'm more concerned about that than most anything else. And one of my bigger worries is how come my lawn doesn't look as good as the guy next door. Those are the kind of things I like to be worried about. I wouldn't have gotten there if it hadn't been for Wounded Warrior Project and my friends that I've met through Wounded Warrior Project and the guys that I served in Iraq with and the people that love me, all that together, has gotten me to where I'm at today. So.
What do you think your biggest challenge has been since getting out of the Corps as far as reintegration back into society? Because they don't teach that. There is no fine print at the bottom of the contract that says, hey, you're going to have problems with this.
Right. I think the one of the hardest parts about it is coming from a world where the lines are pretty well drawn on how you're supposed to act and how you're supposed to respond and what is expected of you and what you can expect. Marines complain about, I was there, I was Private Miller all the way to Sergeant Major Miller, and I know how it works. They complain about everything, but the job gets done. Sometimes you think you're in the soup and you have no idea what's going on and you're complaining about it, but at the end of the day, you know what the mission is, and you know what your part is and what you need to do. You might not know the whole picture, but at least you know what your part is. In the civilian world, you get out there and you get amongst civilians in a work environment, and it's like they don't know what's going on. Nobody seems to be taking charge. People are just running here, there, and everywhere. People have feelings, and military, that humor that's in the military that's nowhere else that I've ever seen, where people can just drop bombs on each other all day, but your brothers and your sisters, you can't do that because you might offend somebody out here. And then all of a sudden you find yourself standing in front of a desk trying to explain yourself. People that have never been in the military have no idea what you've been through, so you get lumped into some category, and then you're treated that way, and it's like, oh, you were the guy that was over there, hey, I'm going to have a party, but, and I actually had this happen, hey man, I'm going to have a party at my house, but I might play Fortunate Son, we might watch Apocalypse Now, or is that going to bother you? Are you going to be okay? Should I warn you that we might do this? And so it's just a disconnect because you've lived in a different world. And I think that's the hardest thing that I've run into and talked to other veterans, is understanding that, yes, the people in the civilian world that never served in the military, no matter how hard you try, they're never fully going to understand what you went through. And you're wasting your time if you're going to expend all your energy trying to explain to them everything and trying to get them to understand you to where you feel satisfied. The best thing you can do is just basically say, okay, I'm going to draw some lines and explain myself to people, but I'm also going to have to understand where they're coming from. And I'm going to have to find a happy medium and understand that it is not the military anymore. I can't have those same expectations of people that were never in the military. And I can continue to live my life with the discipline and the honor and all that I was taught, but I can't necessarily expect that from everyone else. And once you accept that fact, it makes life a lot easier. I dealt with it even on the police department, which is a paramilitary organization. I had people that were never in the military, that were like, what in the, and I'm like, what in the world, when I started working for Wounded Warrior Project, I worked with civilians that were never in the military, but, they have their own ways, and you have to just say, okay, cool. I get it. You're not me. I'm not you. It's never going to be anything other than that. Getting upset about it, jumping up and down about it isn't going to change it. I don't have to sacrifice who I am, but I also can't force myself on you. And I can't change your environment to fit me. What I can do is do the best I can do in what I'm supposed to be doing here and live my life to the best of my ability and continue to move forward. And that's what I tell people all the time. There's nothing else you can do.
Well,
as far as I'm concerned,
no, you're right. And when I first started doing this this podcast, I think one of the first couple of episodes I did, I threw in ones called Vets Are People Too. And it basically was to try to bridge the gap between military and civilians.
Right.
The only, I want to say, pseudo understanding that the civilian population has is what they see in the movies and on TV.
Right.
They get...
Yeah, I listened to pretty much all your podcasts. So
I'll get out of
it was
here.
awesome.
I'll
No, I
get
did. No, it's cool. I love every one of them. I was listening to. I just listened to your one on Mogadishu.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But I mean, yeah, no, I hear you. And I'm sorry. Go ahead. But yeah.
No. It's they're never going to understand, but I feel as veterans and those who have been there, it's our job to educate. Now, whether or not they get it, we can't beat it into their head with a stick or a hammer, but at least open up the dialogue. And there's some topics that are real touchy with us veterans, that we don't like to talk about, and that's fine.
Right.
And they're always going to be there. But as far as, some of the less triggering questions, I mean, hell, I wear my veteran stuff proudly,
Right.
And if someone comes up to me and says, well, thank you for your service, I used to have a problem with that because I didn't know what to say. My response was, well, I just did a job, which is true. Everybody in uniform just does a job. But I've learned over time to say, well, thank you for your support. And that opens up a dialogue right there, And then sometimes you get those questions, well, what did you do in the military? Well, this is what I can tell you, And the questions that are in the back of most people's minds are, well, did you ever kill anybody?
I've gotten that. I can't tell you how many times I've gotten that question. And I've gotten it from school kids.
Yes.
Fifth graders. I've gotten it from adults.
Right.
And I mean, I didn't know that whole thank you for your support thing until I heard it for the first time from my son. He came home on leave, and like I said, he's coming up on 6 years now in the Marine Corps. But I had never heard that before, so I didn't know. They would say thank you for your service, and I'd be like, well, you're welcome. And I'd leave it at that, or I would say, oh, hey, it was not just me; it was a combined effort.
Right.
I like you. At one point in time, when people would say thank you for your service, I would get a little bit upset because I would say, well, I came back. I know a lot of guys. I've known 9 guys that have committed suicide since my last deployment in Iraq.
Right.
On top of all the guys that were lost in Iraq that I knew, and so it's like, what are you thanking me for? Thank the guys that didn't come back, the guys and the girls that didn't come back. And so I had to get past that. And when I heard my son say that, now it's pretty much standard. I say, well, thank you for your support. And it does open up a dialogue, because then I've had people say, oh, wow, well, I appreciate that. And hey, my uncle was at Normandy, or my brother was at Khe Sanh,
right?
And they start talking about it, and it's like, I think one of the biggest things with this job that I do is I get to travel this country, this incredible country of ours. And I was just thinking about this not a couple of days ago, actually, because I was traveling. But
right.
I've had the honor of traveling across this country for working for Wounded Warrior Project, and it's allowed me to expose me to so many different cultures around this country, so many different people. And the biggest thing that I've seen is nothing but patriotism and love across the board. I've run into a few people that, they have a different view, but for the most part, it's been just, it reaffirmed in my heart and my mind the amount of patriotism and the amount of support that this country has for veterans. And it's actually gotten a lot better than what it used to be. And I think it's continuing to get better, and that's a good thing. And these people are pouring their hearts out, and saying, hey, we love our nation's warriors, our nation's veterans. And I've talked to guys, Vietnam guys that came back and they had a horrible time. And now they're like, hey, all of a sudden now, not all of a sudden, but over the last few years, people are coming into into the VFW, and they're just saying, hey, thank you for your service in Vietnam, or they're throwing parades and asking us to be part of it. And
Right.
it's like the country has realized, oh, maybe we didn't do right back then. What can we do now? And the question about, it was very hard for me the first time somebody said, well, how many people did you kill? And I just said, I think I responded with, well, none of your business. Right?
Right.
And then, or I was like, well, none. Or, I don't know. Or, whatever. Or why would you ask that? I would get angry. And then
Right.
I finally figured it out. I finally came up with an answer. I said, and I wasn't trying to be a smart ass about it either. But I said, I don't know. I didn't keep count. Would you?
Do numbers matter?
Right, but I would say I don't know. I didn't keep count. Would you do that? And I turned it back on that individual, and they're like,
Well, no, I guess it really don't matter after all.
well, I would never do that. Well, then I don't, and I go, it's not about that. And I tell them, hey, it doesn't matter what I did. I was part of a bigger group, and I always tell everybody this. I'm not a hero. But I had the honor of walking amongst many of them. I had the honor of teaching, training, and mentoring many of them. And we need to concentrate on the ones that gave that ultimate sacrifice, that laid their lives down to build this country, not just in recent conflict, but going all the way back to the birth of our nation. These guys and girls that gave it all so that we could have the life that we live now. The freedoms that we have, and I bring it into that off of that one simple question, and I do it in a manner that by the time I'm done, the person who asked the question doesn't feel like an idiot, or I haven't hammered them into the ground. I make them feel proud that they're part of a nation that is the greatest nation on earth as far as I'm concerned, and hopefully in the future they'll never ask that question again. Because it's not one that needs to be asked, and I think like you said, it comes off of what they see on TV. I'm not Rambo. I can't fly a helicopter, shoot an M60 out the window, jump out of the helicopter, go drive a tank, get blown up 85 times, and still look just incredibly good at the end of the movie. No, I would. If I stub my toe, I'm down for a week. All right. I mean. It's just, and so the perception sometimes is reality. And like you said, people see it and they just don't understand. But hopefully by bringing it to them in reality and talking to them, they see that we're just human. And you don't ask certain questions because maybe you don't really want to get the answer. Don't test the waters sometimes. And really, if you do get the answer, what good is it? What if I said, I've killed 300 people? What would that serve? I mean, I haven't done that obviously,
Right,
but I mean,
right.
what is it? What's the next thing we talk about?
Yeah, that would be it.
Where are we going to dinner?
Yeah, that would kind of kill the conversation.
Right. Yeah. I mean, so it's silly in that sense. I do get some pretty crazy questions, and I think there are. I've run into veterans that are very touchy about it.
Right.
I understand that. I get it. I think it's, and some people are going to get mad. I guess maybe, but be proud of what you did in the military. And if someone asks you a question that you don't want to answer, you're not required to answer it. Getting angry about it isn't going to change anything.
No.
This is coming from a guy that used to get angry about everything. Walking away is your best bet. And, if the person is persisting with you, bring somebody else into the conversation to change the channel, as I would call it. And then, go from there. But getting yourself upset and wound up about it, what is it that somebody told me once? Stress is a silent killer. And if you stress yourself out enough, it physically can hurt your body over a period of time. So if you keep stressing yourself out and stressing yourself out and stressing yourself out, you're doing damage to yourself. Now, is anybody on the planet worth continually damaging yourself over when it doesn't hurt them one bit?
I'm going to throw a big hell no out there on that one. Yeah.
I'm going to second that hell no. And Rocky, who's wandering around with his rubber grenade in his mouth right now.
There you go.
He just He just put up his paw and gave up the third hell no. So.
All right. You know, it's funny. We were talking about the Vietnam veterans a little while ago, and I did a special tribute to them last Memorial Day, as a matter of fact, and I'm going to re-air that again this Memorial Day. But when we got back to the States, we flew into Bangor, Maine, and when we got on the jetway, there were people lined up on both sides of the jetway, and we had to walk through the middle of them. That was tough, but when I saw the Vietnam veterans and the Korean War veterans standing there thanking me for my service, I didn't want to go any farther. I was like, who in the hell am I to get a thank you when you guys did not get a thank you? And I think as a society now, they kind of know where they went wrong, you know? They didn't give those everyday Joes, so to speak, the credit they deserved. You know, they didn't want to be in Vietnam. They didn't want to do the jobs they had to do, but they did it. They went, they served with honor, and they came back, and we owe them no less than our respect and admiration.
I agree 1,001%, and I'll tell you right now, Doc, I walked down the same jetway you did in Bangor, Maine, and I made a hard left after this one Vietnam veteran said thank you to me. I grabbed him by the shoulder, by the elbow. We walked past the gift shop straight to the bar that was right there. And he sat amongst my Marines, and they bought him a beer. And a few minutes later, we had a couple other of the vets, you know, from Korea and from Vietnam. And, you know, it was just an honor to sit amongst those guys. And, you know, my Marines could only have a couple of beers because we hadn't really had any alcohol for quite a long time. And so, you know, and we only had so much time in Bangor. But, I mean, those men were instrumental in shaping the military and what it was and how, you know, I always tell veterans this, what you did and how you did it laid the pathwork for what future generations of the military did and didn't do.
Absolutely.
You know, lessons learned, you know. My first time in combat, even though it was very short, and the first time I got shot at was in Desert Storm, right? When we came back from Desert Storm, I was stationed in Hawaii. And when we got back to Hawaii, they had this huge, my battalion, you know, 3rd Marines, we marched down Ala Moana Boulevard. And also, well, 12th Marines, actually, we all marched down, it was artillery battalion.
Right.
Everybody marched down Ala Moana Boulevard, and there were Vietnam vets standing there on the sidewalk on either side, crying, and I remember guys grabbing them and you know, and yanking them into or pulling them into our ranks, and oh my God, you know, a Marine formation, you know, pulling somebody into your ranks. The staff NCOs were losing their minds for a second, but then they shut up and they realized how important it was. And they let us do it. And we were pulling guys left and right. And we're like, hey, man, you know, you deserve the parade you never got. And so they marched with us, you know, and we hung out with them. And these guys were crying because, you know, they never got that. They were cheated of that. And they fought just as hard, if not harder, than anyone else, and they did the job they were supposed to do, that they were asked to do, and they sacrificed just as much, if not more, than a lot of people realize. And so, to this day, you know, whenever I talk to guys from Vietnam, some of are still bitter, but I mean, the most of the ones that I've had the honor of talking to, it's like, hey, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And they're like, it's finally nice to be recognized and realize that, we weren't over there just because we felt like it, or we weren't over there doing someone else's bidding. We were there doing a job that we were asked to do
Right.
by our country. And it goes for the same nowadays. I don't know of anybody that, and there probably might be some people, yeah, but I don't know of anybody that jumped up and said, I've got nothing better to do, so I think I would like to go to Iraq 2 or 3 times, or some Army guys I know that went 5 or 6 times, or, hey, let's go to Afghanistan for the weekend. No, these guys went and did their jobs because they were asked to do them. We all did, because we believe in that wonderful, red, white, and blue thing with the stars on it called the national ensign, the American flag that we hold so dear, because we believe in it through and through, and we know what it means. And so, guys and girls went and did their jobs, and that should not be held against anybody that did that. Hey, if you didn't like it, then you weren't in the military, and that's fine. You do you, I'll do me, life will go on.
Well, somebody has to step up and do the job that nobody else wants to do, and I think it's not that veterans are better than anyone else. It's just we took that opportunity to stand up and to do the jobs that nobody else wanted to do, regardless of the risk, and the cost. And the American public truly has no idea of what the risk, what the cost, and what we sacrifice. I'm not saying that to blow our own horns, but I mean that's a byproduct of service. It's sacrifice,
right. No, I agree. 1,001%. And there was a draft during Vietnam. People were forced to go. I get that. There has not been a draft since then. Everyone that has joined the military has joined on their own free will, because they know this is what they want to do. And like you said, if we don't do it, who will? If not me, then who? And if you don't do it, it's like, we could go all day about this one. If people didn't want police, right, and everybody said, no, we don't need the police anymore.
Then don't call 911.
That's cool. That's cool. I'll go home. Hey, I'd like a couple extra days off. Well, when your house gets robbed, who are you going to call? Or when you get robbed, who are you going to call? The carpet cleaner? The roofer? No, you're gonna need someone that understands the laws that are in the books and understands what can and cannot be done. It's the same thing. If people we're such a huge country, but if somebody ever decided to be silly enough to invade the U.S., and there was no military to defend the U.S., well, what happens then? Who are you going to call? Who are you going to get to come and stop these people from changing your world completely? And I do talk about it in my speech. I do mention it. I've been to places where a woman has to walk 3 feet behind and to the right of the man, or whatever, or however it might be exactly. I've been to places where they have to be covered head to toe.
Yep.
I've been to places where if you steal something and you're caught for theft, they cut your hand off. They don't write you a ticket and tell you what your court date is. They don't slap you on the wrist and say, don't come to this store again. They cut your hand off. I've been to countries where people, if you're caught being unfaithful, which some people would say, well, that's the perfect punishment. Yeah. Getting put into a pit and stoned to death, that's torture. That's not punishment. That's a slow death. It doesn't happen quickly. And so we have all these freedoms here. Well, somebody has to guarantee that we continue to have those freedoms, and that is the U.S. military, every single branch, even the Space Force. Hey, I don't know, man. Are
Hey,
there aliens? I don't know. I don't know if there are or not. I don't want to find out, man. But I know that the Space Force is there for a purpose, okay? And they can rock on, may the force be with you and whatnot. But hey, they have a job to do. And I'm not making fun of them, God bless them, but, they got a job to do. And I get it. I understand it. And I respect it. I respect anyone that serves this country, whether it's public service, police, fire, EMS, doctors, nurses, people in the judiciary, people in government that serve our country, or people that are in the military that have decided to put a uniform on and go and do things that a lot of people, not only wouldn't want to do, but probably couldn't do.
yeah.
What do they say? Is it what, 1% or less than 1% or something?
Yeah, if you're in the statistics, yeah, I believe it's, somewhere around that, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. All I know is it was really hot in Iraq. Plus all the combat gear, you add that onto it. And, running, yeah, okay, a couple of feet. And then you were like, yeah, I'm not running anymore. But, it was what it was. And we did what we did because we were we were told to do it because we had joined the military. And when you join, you know what you're getting into. When I hit the yellow footprints in boot camp, there was no misunderstanding as to who was the boss and why I was there. I wasn't at Punta Cana, an all-inclusive vacation.
Right.
I was there to learn to become a United States Marine and earn the title. And I did so proudly. And, I know a lot of other men and women have done the same thing, whether it's the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Coast Guard, Space Force, Merchant Marine, whatever it might be. There's people out there that do a job that most people or a lot of people will never do or couldn't.
Oh, absolutely. Let me ask you this question. I'm just going to throw this out there. What do you want your legacy to be? What do you want people to remember Dan for?
I just want people to remember me as someone that cared about my country. I want to be remembered through my children. I want to see them succeed. I make fun of it sometimes, but it's not really. I make fun of it, but it's reality to me. I'm just glad I hit 50 because I honestly didn't think I was going to make it that far. Now I'm 53, and I'll be happy if I hit 54.
Amen, brother.
I don't have any huge expectations. I'm never going to be a millionaire, because I don't gamble or whatever. I did my best as I could as a cop. I did the best job I could as a United States Marine. I did the best job I could as a parent. I am far from perfect. I am not a hero in any way, shape, or form. I'm just someone that loves his country. So if I were to go tomorrow, I just want the people that know me know who I am, know what kind of person I am, and they know that I care about this country deeply, and that I care about the people that serve this country, and that I care that I want everybody to get along, obviously, and that's in a perfect world. But I just want our world to keep going forward, not backwards. And right now it's scary because we're kind of slipping backwards here a little bit.
I think we're teetering on the abyss there.
With what's going on overseas right now, it's scarier than scary. And I have friends over there right now. Wow. I hope that that ends, but I just want to be remembered as someone that cared, someone that was caring, someone that would help the person next to them, but not hesitate, someone that's honest, someone that loves his country, loves the people around him, and that's it. I'm proud that I became a sergeant major. I made that rank, but I'm not one to run around. I mean, I know I'm not on camera, but I got this real cool goatee thing going on right now. I look like an out-of-work pirate, and that's cool. I'm good with that.
No judgment here, brother.
Yeah, I'm proud of my service to my country. Uh, I as a police officer, I every day I just tried to do the best I could to help others. I'm hoping I made a difference in some people's lives, maybe. Uh, I've had the honor of running into a few people that have gotten older that I just run into them out of the blue, and they're like, "Oh wow, you remember me?" And I'm like, "I'm sorry, man, I don't." Well, you arrested me when I was 18, and I'm 30 now, and I have a family and a wife, and I mean a family and a business, and because of what you did, you changed my world. And it's like, wow, I thank them for working hard to get where they're at, and they thank me, and I said, "Oh, you don't have to thank me. I was just doing my job, man. But I thank you for making the effort to turn yourself into what you've become." And then I walk away, and in my heart, I feel good for a second because, hey, I did make a little bit of a difference. I made a dent. I mean, and to all those people out there that are serving, law enforcement, firemen, EMS, sometimes it feels like you're standing in front of a dike and the holes keep popping and you're running out of fingers and toes, but just know that there's someone else who's going to come along and help you fill those holes, and you got to just keep fighting. And to everybody that's in the military that's out there doing their thing right now, you are loved, you are honored, you are cared about, and you got to keep pressing. And to the guys and girls that are veterans, and to anybody that needs help, it's there. Like you said, you are your best advocate. You are the one that you know what you need to do. If you think you're in such a place that you can't figure it out on your own, all you have to do is raise your hand. And if an old guy like me, who wore a star in the middle of his chevrons and his stripes, can raise his hand and say, hey, I need some help," then anybody can do it. It's there, man, and you can get the help that you need, and you can have that path to forgiveness, that path to a good life, that path to a new life. What did somebody call it once? You can find your new normal. You really can, and you can move forward with life. And I never thought I would, but here I am. I'm living a pretty decent life. Other than the fear of the microwave breaking, I'm good. Thank God they make ramen. But either way, I'm going to make it, right? And we all can make it as long as we believe in each other and we get the help that we need. And if it starts with you raising your hand, then raise it. And that's why Wounded Warrior Project exists. And I would
Wow.
be,
I couldn't even add to that. That was,
well, you know what? I would be remiss if I didn't throw the plug in there. I got to throw the plug in there because it means something.
plug it, baby, plug it.
Hey, if you need help, and you can get to the internet, woundedwarriorproject.org. It's simple. It's that simple. Woundedwarriorproject.org. You get on the internet, and you dial or you type that in, and you can get right to the web page, and it shows you everything you need to know about Wounded Warrior Project. And if you can't get to the web page, and you're having a hard time with that, you can call our resource center. And give me a second here, because can you still hear me?
Yeah, man, I got you.
Yeah, give me a second here. I had it up, but then my phone timed out. You can go to our resource center. It's a phone line, and they have different hours, but you call the resource center. You don't have to even be part of Wounded Warrior Project to contact the resource center. Let me find that number here, and I should have had it up and it disappeared, and I apologize about that.
That's
Give
okay.
me 1 second here.
Hey, no problem. Listen, I also want to remind my listeners out there that if you want to contribute financially, there's also a link at correct me if I'm wrong. There is a link on woundedwarriorproject.org. Please remember that all Wounded Warrior projects, unfortunately, do cost money, and the corporate donations and private donations that they receive only go so far. So if you could send them some love, that would be great.
No, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, we're a nonprofit. Let me see here. Here we go. Yeah, we're a nonprofit. We get no government funding whatsoever, and we exist solely on the generosity of the citizenry of our nation. And the fight. It's a continuing fight. It's not gonna go away next week.
No.
People think that because Afghanistan ended and Iraq is done, that it's all over with now. Well, no, the fight to
Hell,
save
that was
lives.
just the beginning of it. That was the easy part. Now is the work. Now is the fight.
Right. It's still out there. There's still men and women that need help. There's going to be men and women that are going to need help for quite a long time. And speaking about that help, two things. One, the Wounded Warrior Project resource number is 1-888-997-2586. That's 1-888-997-2586. And obviously, and I'll tell you right now, I've used the Veterans Crisis Line when I've been in a bad way. It's 1-800-273-8255. 1-800-273-8255. And there's no shame in dialing that number if you're in a bad spot. In fact, I'll tell you right now, and I tell all my Marines this when I speak to them, because I still get phone calls, you're a braver man or woman to do that. You're braver to pick up that phone and dial that number than you are to continue to try and fight alone. Because sometimes you need backup, you need help. You can't do it on your own. No matter how much of a hard ass you think you might be, there's times when you need help. And that resource number for Wounded Warrior Project, you call them. The Wounded Warrior Project partners up with, I think it's about 25 now, different organizations. If we don't have the answer, we'll get it, and they'll find it, and they'll get you the help that you need. They'll get you pointed in the right direction, and that's really important because you're not alone. We're not alone in this. We're all together. It's all a team. It's a team effort. I can't repeat that enough. We're all in the same fight. And the fight is, as Doc just said, the fight has just begun, and we got to stick together. We got to stick together because we're going to win this. We're going to win this. We're going to make it to the point where, I'm getting ready next week. At the 28th, I'm going to go out and speak. There's a ruck, veterans, ChicagoVeterans.org. They do a ruck march every year, the 22 miles, and I'm going to go out and speak at it again. I'm not going to walk it this year because my son's home. No, my son's home. My son's home.
Okay.
And he don't want to walk it because he's home on leave, and I don't blame him. But I'd rather spend the time with my son because God knows when I'm going to see him again. Sorry, I was looking for Rocky.
That's all right.
God knows when I'm going to see him again. So I'm going to pass, but I'll be back again next year to walk it. But I want to spend some time with my boy because it's been over a year since I've seen him the last time. So I'm going to go out there and I'm going to talk. But when you go out there, you feel the energy of the thousands of people that are out there walking that day in support to bring awareness to the number of veteran suicides. And I'm going to keep fighting. And like I said at the beginning, I'm going to keep rocking this work as long as they allow me to keep working until the wheels fall off.
Amen.
And I'm going to keep doing this and until maybe the day comes where, one is too many. Are we ever going to get to zero?
No.
You know what? Maybe we may never get there, but let's get as close as possible. Let's get as close as possible, and I'm going to keep marching on that road.
So again, that was Dan from Wounded Warrior Project, who lives out in the Midwest. And again, I want to profusely thank the Wounded Warrior Project for setting up this interview. I've been trying to tackle them guys for a long time to talk about their programs, to get their message out there, and to help as many veterans from the 9/11 era as possible. You would be surprised at the number of veterans out there who do not know what the Wounded Warrior Project has to offer. They offer a wide range of services, and like Dan said, they're all free of charge. And I'm a living example. I would not be here today if not for the intervention of the Wounded Warrior Project. Now, unfortunately, help costs money, so they do need your support. I've been a loyal contributor for years myself. If you want to help them out, go to woundedwarrior.org and you can donate today. And remember, you may just help save a warrior's life. If you have any questions, comments, or general feedback, hey, hit me up at theboneyard2021 at yahoo.com. That's theboneyard2021 yahoo.com. I would love your comments, your feedback, whatever. Also, a special note of interest, I have a live radio show 2 nights a week on internet radio. Matter of fact, I have my own station, DBY Radio. You can hit that up at DBY Radio on Facebook for times and programming information. And as always, I thank you for your love, support, and just, I'm going to throw that catchphrase out there, listening to me ramble incessantly. Until next time, remember, it's not the meat, the fat, the gristle, it's just the bare bones. God bless.